Sometimes there's a quiet hesitation that we all run into when we think about doing something new. It's that little feeling that maybe there are already too many people out there doing the same thing. And that thought can make us wonder that by the time you begin, the space is too crowded and you're too late. But let's explore why that thought is actually an illusion, and why the real difference between people who achieve something and those who don't isn't about being first or being the best right away. It's about understanding that most people stop when things get hard, and the real opportunity begins when others quietly give up. Welcome to the Glitch Cult, where we break down the illusions that hold you back and reveal the truths that help you move forward. There's a particular thought that shows up in almost everyone's mind before starting something new. It sounds simple, but it has a strong effect, that there are already too many people doing this. You look around and it feels true. You see people who are already ahead of you. You see people who seem more skilled, more confident, and more established in the same thing you're thinking about starting. Whether it's a career, a creative project, a business idea, or even a personal habit, it can feel like the space is already taken. Like everything worth doing has already been done by someone else. And once that feeling settles in, it becomes easy to step back and say, maybe this is not the right thing for me. But if you take a slow, honest look at this thought, you'll notice that it comes from a misunderstanding of what you're actually seeing. When you say, too many people are doing this, you're reacting to the number of people who have just started, not the number of people who will continue after months or years. Starting something is extremely common. People start new things all the time. New routines, new ideas, new skills. The start gives a burst of motivation. It makes people feel hopeful and energetic for a short period of time. But that phase doesn't last. What you don't normally see, because it happens quietly, is how quickly most people stop. They start with enthusiasm, try it for a few weeks, face a few difficulties, and then slowly drift away. They don't announce that they've quit. They don't explain why they stopped. They simply return to whatever feels easier or more familiar. And because this quitting happens silently, your mind doesn't count it. So when you look at the space you want to enter, what you're actually seeing is this. You see the people who have started recently. You see the people who have stayed long enough to become visible. But you do not see the large number of people who quit early. This creates a false impression of how many people are truly committed. The path looks crowded only because you're looking at the part where everyone passes through. The beginning. The early stage always looks full because most people try at least once. But if you look at the long-term part of the process, the part where real progress happens, you'll notice that very few people remain. There's another important detail. The idea that too many people are already doing this often becomes a convenient excuse. It gives us a way to step back without feeling like we gave up. It sounds logical enough to hide the real reason, which is usually fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of failing, or fear of being seen starting from the bottom. But once you understand what actually happens after the beginning phase, this excuse loses its power. Most people don't continue long enough to reach the stage where things become meaningful. They stop when the excitement fades, when progress isn't immediate, or when the routine becomes repetitive. They don't announce it. They simply slip out of the process and move on to something else that feels easier. And this is the part we normally don't notice. The early phase looks crowded, but the later phase, the part where real growth takes place, is almost empty. Very few people stay long enough to experience it. The ones who continue past the initial drop-off are the ones who eventually grow, because they're no longer surrounded by the superficial rush of beginners. They're in a space that naturally becomes quiet and clear, simply because most people couldn't stick around. And once you see this honestly, the old excuse loses its strength. It's not true that too many people are chasing the same dream. What's true is that very few continue long enough for the dream to grow. Your dream doesn't require you to be the first or the most unique. It simply requires you to be one of the few who doesn't walk away after the beginning. People often say that success is mostly about luck, being in the right place, meeting the right person, or starting something at the perfect moment. It's an easy explanation because it removes responsibility. If luck decides everything, then failure feels less personal. It becomes something outside your control. But when you look at real life more closely, you start to realize that luck doesn't work the way people imagine. It isn't a random event floating around, choosing people at random. Luck, or probability, increases around the people who stay involved long enough to give it multiple chances to reach them. Most of us treat probability like a coin toss, a fixed chance that stays the same, no matter how many times we try. But real life isn't a single coin toss. Every attempt changes your chances because every attempt teaches you something. Each try gives you a small advantage that you didn't have before. Someone who tries once has almost no understanding about the process. Someone who tries 10 times has seen the pattern behind the mistakes. Someone who tries 50 times starts recognizing what actually leads to progress. When you look at people who eventually succeed, you'll notice something similar. They weren't always more talented, or smarter, or better. They just kept going for a longer period of time, long enough for probability to shift in their direction. Most people try a few times, expect something big to happen quickly, and when nothing changes, they decide the odds aren't for them. But the truth is the odds were never given enough time to form. Probability needs repetition to build strength. It's strange how we forget that persistence is a form of strategy. We treat consistency like a moral virtue, but it's actually a practical advantage. Every time you do something again, you collect more information. You learn what works and what doesn't. Your chances don't increase because the environment changed. They increase because you became more capable inside the same environment. If you think about it clearly, this isn't optimism, it's math. When fewer people remain, the likelihood of something working in your favor gets stronger for those who stay. The effort doesn't get easier, but the odds do. Not because there's guaranteed success at the end, but because most people won't last long enough to reach that point where the odds begin to tilt. So when people talk about luck, it's often just a word used to describe the moment, when time finally aligns with someone's consistent effort. So the fact is this: probability doesn't treat everyone equally. It never did. It favors the people who continue while others wait, hesitate, or leave. It favors those who are still there when it's inconvenient to be. And sometimes it favors the last person still trying, simply because everyone else decided that they were out of luck. It's true that there's no guarantee that any of this will work. You could do everything right, stay consistent, and still not see results for a while. Some people seem to figure it out in 6 months. For others, it might take a year or even more. And that's the part no one wants to hear. That effort doesn't come with timer. You can't mark a date on the calendar and say, by this day my life will change. It just doesn't happen like that. But the opposite is also true. Not trying guarantees that nothing will ever change. If you stop before starting, if you decide something won't work without giving it time, then you've already chosen the outcome. You've already accepted that your life will stay exactly as it is. Trying might not guarantee success, but not trying guarantees failure. That's the quiet rule most people overlook. The real difference isn't between those who win and those who lose. It's between those who keep improving and those who stop. Because if you pick one thing and keep getting better at it, genuinely better, things eventually shift. Maybe not today, and maybe not this month too, but 6 months from now, you'll notice that what once felt hard now feels natural. A year from now, you'll look back and realize that you've built something solid while others kept restarting. It's not about doing 100 different things and hoping one will work. It's about choosing one thing and allowing time to refine you through it. That's what people often miss. That mastery doesn't come from intensity, it comes from duration. You build skill layer by layer, and each small improvement quietly compounds into something real. And when that happens, it looks like overnight success, but nobody realizes that it's the efforts made in silence that are finally paying back. Most people give up too early. They stop at the point where nothing seems to be moving, not realizing that's the exact point where things begin to change beneath the surface. Progress rarely looks like progress while it's happening. It looks like repetition. It feels like boredom. But if you keep going long enough, time eventually catches up to your effort, and the results start to align. That's what separates people who achieve something from those who don't. Not intelligence, not talent, just the ability to stay when things are uncertain, to keep doing the work when no one is watching, to trust that time will eventually reward the effort. So maybe there's no perfect formula or shortcut. Maybe the only real strategy is to keep trying slowly, consistently, deliberately, until your odds shift in your favor. Because while you can't control when success happens, you can make sure you're still around when it does. And that, more than anything else, is what most people lack. Not the potential to win, but the patience to keep playing long enough to let time do its work.